Hello, families. Welcome to Family Book Club, the podcast that brings families together through the love of reading. I'm your host, Alex Kirby, and as always, I'm joined by my co-captain of curiosity, Emily Blue. Hi, Emily.
Hi.
We are excited to welcome our producer turned author, Mike Montague, author of Playful Humans, 52 Reasons to Rediscover the Power of Play in Your Life and Career. This book reminds us of the essential role of play in both our personal and professional lives, and it's okay to scream at your family during Monopoly.
And flip the board over. Yeah, for sure.
And flip the board over, which I have done once. And I still regret it.
Since I was a kid, but I've done it.
Yeah, it was a while ago. It was a few weeks ago. Now, Mike, you have you tell jokes in the books, and you are not a dad, but man, you are ready on the dad joke front. What is your favorite joke from the book?
There's 52 jokes and 52 fake sponsors, so I had to come up with 104 good dad jokes. But the podcast has even more because the Playful Humans podcast has like almost 200 episodes, and I've had to do one of those. So there are many more in there. But my all-time favorite is, what did the bra say to the hat? You go on ahead. I'm going to give these two a lift.
Nice. This is a family show, Mike.
That's clean.
I'm just kidding.
I talked to I think it was a third grade class. They absolutely love that. It's their favorite joke too.
Mike, this is not your first podcast. We believe that families need to play too at Total Family. And we've done some, Emily, you probably don't even know this. We've done some family game nights for our clients. And before we did that, we tested it on my own family. And so I sent it to like 15, all my siblings, parents, step parents, everyone. Everyone was like, I have no idea what this is.
Did they show up?
We had like
we hosted a game show for them. Yeah. 9
or 10. Like we had like my niece, she was in her college dorm. We had like people messing up the cameras, but it was a ton of fun. It's a really cool. I know like everyone did that during COVID. It's like, oh, we'll do virtual Zooms or whatever. But in actuality, for so many families have people living all over the United States, and like a 7:30 p.m. like Tuesday game night was really, really fun. And Mike is the host, and he's a wonderful, wonderful game show host, as I think we might find out today.
Yeah, before we leave, I'm going to make you play a game show. But I have hosted game shows online, in person. I have hosted a singing competition on television. Here's Lucky Break here in Kansas City. And I've hosted karaoke shows, singing contests, all kinds of things. So it's a fun job. I like to play games with people, and getting paid to play with Legos. I'm Lego Serious Play certified. So I get paid to teach adults how to play with Lego. It's a fantastic career for sure.
Mike is the only person I know who does a lot of karaoke and doesn't drink. Usually there's like a very strong correlation in the karaoke and alcohol crowd, and Mike's defying all odds.
So what's your go-to karaoke song?
Faith, George Michael.
Yeah.
It's a surprise one. That'll get you. That, or I'll go with, do you remember Macy Gray?
Obviously.
That's a good.
Try to say goodbye and I choke.
Times changes and fears.
Yeah.
When will they go from here? Yeah.
Nope.
Alex just says nope.
What about you, Emily?
Ooh,
what's your go-to karaoke?
Probably anything Shania Twain.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, maybe a man. I feel like
a woman. Yeah.
Sure, that'll get me up there.
I do Billy Joel Piano Man because it gets the crowd into it.
Oh yeah, takes the pressure off you.
Yeah,
it's a good sing along. Yeah, for sure.
If you're trying to kill the crowd, American Pie, Don McLean, 16 minutes. Just really slowing it down. They're like, how long has this guy been up there?
I don't allow American Pie or Paradise by the Dashboard Light unless you can really sing. And I've heard you sing previously before in the show.
Fair enough. My sister and late brother used to do Paradise by the Dashboard Light at weddings. like in the duet. And it's like one of the things like I always think about him when I hear that song. It's like a song that was annoying and now is like super endearing.
Very positive message for a wedding too. Yeah, perfect theme
song. Yeah, it's high
wedding.
School love. It's high school love. It's fine. Okay, let's jump into our first segment, the welcome mat. This is where we boil the idea of the book into something that could fit on a doormat.
The welcome mat segment is brought to you by Corduroy Pillows. Corduroy Pillows are making headlines across the country right now.
Great sponsor.
Really good. Emily.
So my welcome mat is it's 5 o'clock somewhere. When people think fun, it's after 5.
That's true. Technically, it's not. It would be like 5:19, but it's in the 5 o'clock hour.
In that vicinity.
I think mine is just today we play. I think it's got to fit on there. I like a lot of short, pithy sayings. In fact, the book has kind of 52 of them because that's how I wrote it, is when I was doing all these podcasts and interviews with play experts and people that play for a living and stuff. I just wrote down whenever they said something good. I was like, ooh, I want to remember that. And I wrote down these little sayings. They don't all quite fit on a welcome mat, but that's where the ideas for the chapters came from.
I like that.
It's cool. Yeah, the format of the book is really cool. We're going to jump into that. Mine is kind of along the lines of Emily, is the word fun. We have little kids in our house, and little kids are constantly reminding you. I mean, all they really do is play, and they get lost in it, and they remind you that, like, I feel like you forget how to play in a lot of ways as you get to be an adult, and phones and some of that flow state stuff doesn't help. I was hiding with my 4-year-old in a little castle from my wife and our 2-year-old. And like, as they got closer, he was just like, like he was trying to be quiet, but he was so excited about his hiding spot. And like, we were in there for like 5 or 6 minutes because there's a really good hiding spot. And it was just awesome. It was just like
hide and go seek.
Yeah. Well, we did it I beat my wife at hide and go seek. Yeah, that's all that matters. But I think the kids and just having a little bit more fun, in our work with families, so much of the conversation is like, we have this going on, or it's high stress, or we're worried about this, or we're thinking about this. And I think families sometimes forget that they can just like get together and play a game, hang out. Doesn't have to be about the more serious things. And that's when you get to see the best versions of the people that, in your life.
Yeah. Kids know how to have fun, but adults have forgotten. Adulting is hard and it is stressful sometimes. And it's amazing that I think research showed that like over 80% of third graders have genius levels of creativity when compared to adults. And by the time we get to college, it's like 3% of 22-year-olds have any type of creativity left. It's all kind of beaten out of us, and we worry about what we think and all kinds of stuff. That it's a shame.
Yeah.
Well, you remember when you're growing up, like there comes a point when it's totally normal and acceptable to play with certain toys, right? And then you enter an age where if you play with said toy, you aren't cool.
Yeah.
So you get rid of those toys and you try to, grow up to be cool. Right. And so I think that sticks. That's a really sticking point for a lot of people,
Right.
I can even point to personally, those toys that you played with one day and became immediately uncool the next. And so then that carries over and you kind of lose that skill of play.
The sad part for me, Alex, you mentioned alcohol earlier. And I think like once alcohol enters at 18, I think adults stop playing and they substitute play and the toys and the things that you used to like to do, like sports, for just let's go have a drink together. It's a shame because that's not play at all. That's fake emotions, fake feelings, and fake socialization.
Wow. All right. Strong take on it, but
hard start.
No judgment here, except from our producer. But I think, Emily, to your point, like when you start being more keenly aware of like what other people think about you.
Yeah.
And then the kids, like you're 8, the 10-year-olds, like, you don't play with this anymore, do you? You're like, no, of course not. Even though all the X-Men figurines are lined up in your room or whatever. you know? So yeah, that's really interesting. And so what is our advice there? Are we saying like, worry less about what
do what makes you happy. Worry less about what other people think is cool. Most of the time they're lame. They're worried about playing with dolls or, you know, there's adult fans of Lego now, which is cool. And I love that it's kind of come back now that people my age and older have grown up with Lego. They're like, you know what? It's cool. We can make Star Wars sets for ourselves. There's a Seinfeld one on my shelf back here and stuff. And it's like those aren't for kids. Those are this map behind me has 10,000 pieces on it. Like it's not for kids. These are 18 plus toys. And it's still a good, fun puzzle to play with. And whatever it is, sports. I mean, I think, you know, people are judging like, you know, don't, you can't play with dolls or whatever. Meanwhile, they're watching the Kardashians or grown men are watching 22-year-olds, you know, chase a ball around a field and getting very seriously emotionally engaged in it. You know, it's like, all right, what are you going to judge? Everybody's got their thing. You do you.
I think you're right, though, Alex. I think, you know, they say like comparison is the thief of joy. And one of my favorite authors, I read a post that she did on Instagram, and she talked about how she's written amazing books. Colleen Hoover has just written fabulous books. People love her.
Is that It Ends With Us?
Yes.
Yeah.
And she did a post actually recently about how she started worrying about what, you know, other people were thinking and getting torn down by people's negative and mean comments. And that like it kills creativity and kind of takes the fun out of it. So I think that when you stop caring about, you know, doing it for others' approval or, you know, being judged, that's when you can really play and have fun. I mean, look at us, Alex. When Alex asked me, Alex sent me a message about this podcast for season 1. I ignored it. I was like, that is way outside of my comfort zone. I don't even know what he's talking about. There's no way I would do this. Fast forward when we launched you. Alex knew my business partner, Ryan, and Ryan made a joke, was like, oh my gosh, you've been ignoring Alex. Like you need to talk to him about this podcast. And I was so caught up at the beginning of what people would clip of what I would say or take something out of, you know, context. Cause we live in such like a world where certain things get clipped and that becomes, you know, you know, you get judged on. But the moment I quit worrying about what people would think or the clips that could come out of it, that's where I started really having the most fun with working with you, Alex. So I think personally I can relate to that.
Yeah, this is adult fun. Like we love reading and we love doing this stuff, and you know, we certainly have a good time doing it. It doesn't really feel like work. Speaking of Legos, we're gonna head into the family room where that's usually where I step on Legos. If you've ever stepped on a Lego bare feet, depending on the piece, very, very painful. How many Lego pieces do you think there are on this planet?
Oh, billions at this point. But first, a word from our sponsor. The Family Room is brought to you by the 1980s. When I think of the 80s, I think of a boombox, but that's just a stereotype. Okay, billions for sure. They started making them out of plant-based materials and stuff now, which is great. So Lego tries to be conscious and stuff, but there are so many Legos. I love this concept from the book. And when I help adults play with Legos is that like, if you combine a few custom pieces together into something, you're building something that nobody in the world has ever built. So when you play with Lego, there's a couple of things. Like if you build a set, sure, everybody that buys the, you know, mermaid castle set is going to build the mermaid castle. But when you start combining that with the other leftover pieces you had and you break it apart and you take the mermaid's heads off and you put it on a different body, now you're doing stuff that nobody on the planet has ever done because there's so many pieces, so many possible combinations. It's one of my favorite stats. If you took 6 studded Lego, 6 blocks, like a typical like 8 studded Lego block, just 6 of them, do you know how many possible combinations there are of different shapes you could make? Want to take a guess? Well, this will be our first contest. See who gets closest without going over. Price is Right rules. How many combinations of 6 blocks with 8 studs?
Is it 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2? Is that how you do
6
it?
factorial? No.
I don't know.
Emily, what do you think?
I'm not answering your question because you didn't answer mine. So
yeah, you gotta answer his first.
Total Lego pieces in the world, Mr. Lego Man.
Billions. You want an exact number?
Yeah.
3.2 billion.
Emily?
Ooh, it's gotta be like 5.7 billion.
400 billion.
Ooh.
400
billion.
Whoa.
Crazy. And Mike has 350 billion.
I mean, I did forget that technically probably a piece or a Lego is considered like the hand,
right.
the foot.
Yeah. That's right.
That messed me up in my count estimation.
Emily,
so
why
other
is
ones
this
with possible
relevant?
combinations. Do you want to guess first, Emily?
Oh, sorry, Mike. We'll answer your question now. I'm gonna guess 312.
Ooh, I'm gonna guess 4,000.
Over 109 million possible shapes with just 6 bricks. If you increase that to like 8 bricks, it becomes more than like our current computers can count to. People forget that there's holes on the bottom too. So you got 8 on the top and 8 holes on the bottom of each thing. And then when you combine that 6 times, it becomes crazy. But I love to share that because we always think that there's a right answer to stuff. You know, in life we'll be like, what's the best way to spend some family time on a Friday night? Well, just with 6 pieces, there are 109 million possible combinations. What if you have 6 people in your family? How many possible combinations can those 6 people interact? We have more ways than, 8 studs and stuff. Maybe, Alex might have 8 studs in his family, but we don't. The possibilities are endless. There's no right answer. There's no right way to put 6 Lego bricks together. There's no right way to put 6 people together. So whichever way is the most fun for you, I think is an awesome way to think about it.
Would you say though that, when you think about play and you think about combinations, would you say though that the connection component of play, just because you could do it a ton of different, a ton of different ways exactly. Or with a ton of different people, I think you talked in the book just about connection and that intersection of play and connection. So I'd love to hear kind of your thoughts on, in light of the billions of Lego, it's like, how do you think about the connection component?
Yeah, I think it depends on what your goals are, right? So if the play time with the family is to create deeper connections, there are better ways to play than others. Monopoly might end up in people throwing the board in a fight and not a real great connection.
You just be the banker and take all the money, guys.
I don't understand. No, I think, and then ways where you're working together as a team, like different types of play together as a team, like going into to an escape room as a family. You all win if you all work together and you all escape the room. That's better than half the people win and half the people lose, right? So I try to think about, what are we going to learn about people? If you go watch a movie, people love to go to dinner and a movie, or used to, on a first date.
That was date night.
Pretty dumb first date. You're going to sit in the dark and not say anything for 2 hours. Doesn't create a real strong connection. But if you go play a game, you go play laser tag together, or you go to a painting class and you both create some artwork together. Now you're talking the whole time, you're experiencing it, you're comparing, each other's skills, you're creating a much deeper connection than sitting in the dark staring at a screen.
You brought up some interesting like business concepts. The one that I just heard of recently is like a rage room.
Oh, that's fun for sure.
What is that?
Kids love that, by the way.
So you have to, of course, you have to have closed-toed shoes.
There's one in Kansas City.
Yeah. So you get like a hammer,
go break stuff.
all kinds of stuff, bats, and you beat and like break all these things in the room. It's amazing what people are coming up with to create environments for play. That one was not on my bingo card of, things that would come up, but I mean, it is very interesting just what people are doing to create those environments, kind of like an escape room or, the paint.
We can talk about the different types of play too, because I have a quiz on my website, playfulhumans.com/quiz, where you can find out your playful personality type. And physical play and that rough and tumble play is really good for kids. Most parents try and stop their kids from fighting and wrestling, but it's part of play that kids need to learn. They need to learn how to test their limits. They need to do how they react when they're challenged and stuff. Yeah. And if you stop breaking that up, you're actually breaking into development.
Before bed every night. The game, my 4-year-old just calls it fight.
There you go.
And we just go into the playroom and just fight.
Yeah. And that's what like the rage room is. You got to get that energy out sometimes, and you got to learn and test your limits. Other types, like you got to create stuff, or tell jokes, or go explore and go for a hike, or solve a puzzle, or social play is really interesting too. And I like people that like to plan parties and direct stuff, or set up make-believe situations for the other siblings and stuff. Those kind of different types of play are important. And I think sometimes in society we get locked into there's like one right answer, or a lot of times it's also what's been monetized. So free play, like taking the dog to the park, doesn't cost anything, but there's no advertisements for that on television or on Instagram. It's all stupid stuff you can buy. Yeah. Right. We've made it to the kitchen table. The kitchen table is brought to you by Tickle Me Elmo. They're doing some new toy testing for Christmas this year. There were some problems with Tickle Me Elmo. So this year, each one will get 2 testicles before they get shipped to the stores.
So I was going to ask about play personalities, but since you talked about it, the movie The Sandlot, obviously an amazing movie about kids and baseball and being young and all this stuff. But they say when Smalls is like learning about how they do things at The Sandlot, he's like, they don't keep score. There's like, they just like play all day long. And when I remember doing that type of stuff as a kid, there was no standings. There was no coach. There's no, it's totally unstructured. And I think it's harder for adults to put themselves in that state anymore. Even when you see parents interacting with kids, they're always like many times explaining to them the rules, like, oh, here, no, do this, and then give it to him, and then we'll do this thing. And like, I think the unstructured nature of play is an interesting question for me. So how do we like bring back some of that unstructured nature, Mike, of play?
Yeah, you reminded me of the concept by James Carse, came up with the idea of infinite games. And there's finite games where you play to win, and there's a start and a stop, or there's a clock counting down the timer, and those are okay. But infinite games to me are a lot more interesting. That's where you're talking about there's no time limit. The whole point is to keep the game going. So when you think about playing games like tag or something as a kid, it's like, well, if the same person's always it and they get tired and they give up chasing people, then the game's over. So somebody else has to be it at some point, right?
Yeah.
We have to keep changing the rules. Or if one team is winning all the time in your little backyard game that you made up, you got to change the teams. You got to switch it up so that it's still fun and competitive for everybody. Otherwise, it will end. So I love this idea of how do we keep the game going, and how do we create situations where it's really about the play and the feeling we're in, and making that last as long as possible, than getting some sort of victory, accomplishing a task, following the rules. I think one of my favorite quotes of all time was a joke by, I think Brian Regan. It said his kids were playing with spaghetti at the table and they were kind of making a mess, and the parents got angry and yelled at him, and he's like, don't you know that the paint on the walls is more important than the joy in your heart? And it's like, well, yeah,
sometimes it's unfortunately
even a little league game, there are definitely parents who think that following the rules is more important than the joy in their child's heart of running the bases the wrong direction or something,
Yeah. Emily, what was your question for families, or a question that we should talk about?
Yeah. So the question I had, which Mike, you talked a little bit about, was what does play look like for you? And I think that's something that everybody should think about. And as a parent, so, we have 3 littles. Each of my 3 kids views play very differently. So Mike, when you were talking about, parents sometimes care more about the rules than, having fun. Well, I'm going to be honest. I'm the parent that took my middle to gymnastics and was sitting there floored inside that my middle was like, say they're walking on the beam. Well, she's laying on the trampoline and having the best time, right? Like and I'm sitting there being like, she's not listening, and it's easy for a parent to do, right? And so then you'd get in the car after, a gymnastics session of just chaos, and you'd go, did you have fun? And she was like, I had the best time. And so as a parent, you're reconciling, like, she had the very best time, and we weren't doing any of this, the stuff we were supposed to. Do you think as a parent, you grapple with that concept? But if I've learned anything is, Fast forward by having like 2 crazy seasons of like her probably being the worst behaved kid. The teacher now is last week goes, Emily, she's ready to move above the age she is because she got all that out. And now she's like, she's advanced from where, the kids her age are. So I think parents lose sight of that piece, that if you just allow the season of, as a parent, hard, right? Like it's hard to sit there as a parent quiet while your kid is, doing all the things chaotically, and other parents are looking at you like, are you going to correct that?
Yeah.
But fast forward, you forget the other side of it, that, Claire's now the one kid in the class that's moving up beyond her age, right? So it's a strange thing to kind of create that space to allow, but so important.
You reminded me of like 3 things right there. One is, I think people do more of what is fun. And so if you make gymnastics so annoying that they have to follow in the rules that they hate it and they quit, well, then they're not going to ever get good at it. Nobody wants to do boring things of like, oh, let's go to more school and follow more rules after, on the weekend. Well, we want to go and we want to play and jump around and make that fun. And if that's enough fun, eventually you'll try to figure out how to get better, or you'll naturally get better at it. You'll learn and grow into it.
Yes.
Second thing is, the people that break the rules are more interesting as adults and stuff, right? I think maybe, you have to look at the personality style and the play style and find situations that fit that. If you have a really creative kid that loves to, color outside the lines, don't take them to a color inside the lines class. Take them somewhere where they can express their creativity. Because I think in school and throughout life, you're going to get enough people telling you to, fall in line and to stop doing stuff. My opinion is, we certainly for adults, but even for kids, we need more people saying, hey, it's all right. Go do your thing and we'll learn along the way. You're probably not going pro in T-ball anyway. So let's go have fun, do whatever you want and go from there. And my last thought was also, it's funny because we always do what we think is right. Mm-hmm. And so as parents, we've been conditioned into all of this stuff. So we're putting our opinions or what we think is fun onto our kids. And I think everybody inherently, when they have kids, I don't have kids myself, but I think like I do this with my nieces and nephews, you want them to be little mini yous. You want them to like the same stuff as you. Like I love playing hide and go seek in the dark. I want my nieces to love that too, so that I can play with them and they're like me and stuff, but they're different people. So they're going to have different play styles and you got to let them do it. And it's funny, if you heard this, like when you're driving on the highway, anybody that drives faster than you is a maniac. Anybody that drives slower than you is a moron. Like there's no right way to drive on the highway other than your way of doing it. And I kind of feel like play is the same way.
I couldn't agree more. Just stay out of their way.
I think that's what we decided from this segment. There's a book called Taking Back the Game by Linda Flanagan, which maybe we'll do at some point on this podcast. But like, it's basically just that the parents are ruining so much of this for the kids. And, it's like all under this guise of sports developing them as leaders, and they're going to get scholarships and it's, all this kind of stuff. But none of that requires you to play a sport 50 weeks out of the year and travel 7 hours and, all this kind
Kids
of stuff.
I think by 13, age 13, totally. They're giving up sports now because it's become too competitive and annoying. And it's not fun anymore.
Yeah.
Who would blame them?
Yeah.
Parents have invested too much of their own kind of identity in the friendships between the parents that are part of those sports.
I mean, I understand there's kids that have passion for stuff and you want to like support them in that, but I feel like that's 1 out of 10 and 9 100. Out of 10 is getting pushed in a way. Like I played hockey growing up and I just loved playing hockey, and I would play in my driveway and I would play on rollerblades and all this kind of stuff. And I never would have gotten all the times when I got better was just from playing. I didn't know, I wasn't like practicing my stick handling or like working on my turns. I was just like playing.
Yeah.
And I think, I remember Emily and I said this with the podcast, like as soon as it stops being fun, we can just stop doing it,
I think parents confuse winning with fun. So they go, it's more fun if you win. And that's not necessarily true. What we find is life, and this is one of the cool concepts in the book that I really love, is like the movement between order and chaos. It's more fun when you win sometimes and you lose sometimes. When it's competitive is when it's actually the most interesting for the human mind. If you won every game, if you just crushed your opponents and every game you won 87-0, it wouldn't be that fun.
Yes.
Right. And if every time you went out, you got crushed and you lost 87-0, it wouldn't be that fun either. I did experience that with my niece's soccer team, though. It was awesome. They were getting annihilated. We stopped keeping it. It had to be like 30-0. I think they got one shot on goal. The other team was scoring like every 3 minutes. And at the end, the team comes over and she's like, all right, good job. Here's your orange slices and waters and stuff. And this girl looks up and is like, did we win? I was like, oh, honey, wasn't even close. But I love that you thought you were being competitive out there. That's awesome.
I love that.
Mike, I think it's time for our ad break for Heart of the Home.
The Heart of the Home is brought to you by dolphins. My dolphin jokes are terrible on porpoise.
That was good.
Okay, MVP. I'm going to go first. Kevin Carroll, The Rules of the Rubber Ball. As a boy, I think guys just a ball, basketball, bouncy ball, anything. It's like I have always loved that stuff. I love the ideas from his book. I love that he took it to corporate America and did it with like the simplest possible concept. So it probably changed a lot of perspectives along the way. So I love Kevin Carroll. Emily, what about you?
So Jordana Confino. I loved the writing that you did, Mike, talking about how she really shed a light on the relationship between play, productivity, and well-being. I think that triangle is something that before I read the book, I struggled with, right? I associated with play as I wasn't being productive.
Right.
Yeah. But then you look at well-being and say, oh man, I've been so productive that is my well-being impacted because I'm not playing. Right. And so just going around that circle of those pieces and the misunderstanding and unpacking that, I thought was just so great, because I think that's the biggest barrier that adults have to embracing and carving out and putting more play into their week.
Is like the pressure to feel really productive, you're saying?
Yeah.
Like I'm too busy to do this.
Yeah. High potential. Yeah. She was a lawyer, like valedictorian, like always striving to be right and perfect and do everything. And then just, like we all do, get to a certain age and you're like, I'm exhausted. Like I can't keep this up anymore. And really, she was a great podcast guest, really great lady. Kevin Carroll and the Rules of the Red Rubber Ball is an awesome book. And it is funny that there are rules and there are structures to this, but the play goes back to that chaos theory where like a ball is interesting to us because we can kind of control it and manipulate it. But once we let it out of our hands, we don't know which way it's going to bounce, especially unusual balls. And that keeps life interesting. But also when you're playing with somebody else, like they did the joke on with the koosh ball, King of Queens. Do you remember that show with Kevin? What's his last name? Anyway, he said, like, if you go, if you just make a little sound and you put a hand up and you go, whoever has the koosh ball has to throw it to you. Like that's the rule of the koosh, right? Yeah. But his boss just kept it. His boss put his hand up and he threw it to him, and then the boss just took it and walked in his office. And he freaked out. He's like, I gave him the sign and he didn't do it. So I love those rules. Also, I learned that Alex's favorite chapter was chapter 1. The rest of the book downhill from there.
That's not true. I have tons of. I made it all the way through.
Keeping you humble.
Yeah.
MVP.
Well, as I told Mike, the audiobook would have been nice.
Ooh,
that's true for Alex.
And you need to read it. You need to.
I'm an auditory listener. Yeah. Like I do the Kindle highlights. I buy both versions and go back and highlight. I have a process.
Yeah, that's insane. I need to do that.
I'm either. If I pick an audiobook, it's start to finish audiobook. If I pick Kindle, start to finish, I read it in my Kindle. It is insane to me that Alex, one book will flip back and forth through the whole book, audio and it's in the Kindle app. It's like No.
Yeah, it picks up where you left off and stuff. So
I would not like that.
Well, you've never
everybody's
tried
got their own style.
You've never tried it.
Everybody has their own play. Everybody has their own book consumption, but you got to pick from the beginning for me.
I mentioned it though. I think my MVP was James Carse. We talked about the infinite games. I think that is a game changer for me. Once I realized you're like, oh, why am I trying to win everything? What the point of life is to keep it going and to keep the fun going, you know?
Mike, will you do quotation quotes so I can give you my quote that is buried deep into the back of the book?
He just opened
Okay, great. The quotation quilt brought to you by Santa's Parking. Santa's Parking is always free because it's on the house.
My favorite quote in the book, buried deep in the back of the book. So you have to read the whole book to get to this quote.
Or just open it.
Change how you think about time. Most people overestimate what they can do in a day, week, month, underestimate what they can accomplish in a year or a decade or lifetime. And certainly for the work that we're doing with families, every family wants to take on way more than they possibly could on a project, on an idea. Hey, can we meet about this every 3 days? You know, but then after just a few meetings, it never works. Mike and I learned this from the training space. But if you push the timeline out and you're like, what's one thing we can get done here in 6 months? And if we just do that after 10 years, we're going to look back and be like, oh my gosh, look at all this. We entirely changed our trajectory. We entirely changed how our culture is playing out, how we're communicating with each other, how we're capturing legacy, whatever. I loved that quote. And I loved how deep in the book it was.
Thank you, Alice.
Which is code for he just flipped to the back of the book. Mine was my actual favorite chapter.
You know, actually, Emily, just one thing. We did this, we were doing this leadership development program, and our chief strategy officer, Carroll, was facilitating with me. And there was one student who we had this feedback survey. And I'll never forget this. The one student was like, you had to give feedback on every kid in the class. And it was like 40 kids or something. And the student raised his hand. He's like, after a while, you know, you just end up giving the same feedback. Like everyone just ended up giving the same feedback to everyone. And Carl said, that means you just ended up giving the same feedback to everyone. When you hear people say everyone's doing this,
yeah,
it's always them. So Emily, I think you know where I'm going here. All right. So just mind your P's and Q's.
So Mike, my favorite chapter, and I love the title of it, was Look for Glimmers, Not Triggers. And the quote from that chapter that I loved was, all of that time and energy spent with stress, worry, and fear was not spent on more positive results, pursuits. So the opportunity cost of missing happy thoughts is very high. And I don't think people think about the opportunity cost. So when they're stressing or they're worrying and they're creating this, you know, a lot of times like worst case scenario that never comes to fruition, they don't think about their time in terms of the opportunity cost of all of the energy they're wasting, burning, and arguably those are not fun moments and playful moments. The opportunity cost of just being happy and letting, you know, tomorrow's worries, you know, sit and solve itself out with time. So I loved that, because I think that the human mind is like set to kind of focus on triggers and doesn't spend as much time on the like glimmer piece of it. So Mike, I just thought that was such a great chapter and a helpful concept, especially because it's, again, when you think about what are the barriers to play, if all you're doing is focusing on stress and triggers, you are incapable of being happy and enjoying and being present in play.
Yeah, I loved that one too. When I got to that, it was one that really hit me hard, because I think you can always find something wrong with anything, right? But you can also find something right. You can find with any person in your life or opportunity or situation. And Alex, to go back to what you were saying, there is one of my favorite quotes. Oh gosh, I forget the band name now, but they have the line in the song that says, "If you're bored, then you're boring."
Yeah.
Flagpole sitter, Harvey Danger.
Okay. I was gonna say it's a 90s alt song.
Yeah, I think it's like the same thing here, where it's like, okay, if you're standing in line in Disney World and you got an hour-long wait for the ride, you can sit there in that opportunity and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're going to be bored for an hour. And this is so horrible. We paid a whole bunch of money to be here. It's hot. And the kids are hungry and it's miserable. And you can talk yourself into that. Or you can say, we have an hour of family time that alone with our kids that we're not going to get. And we're in a magical place, and there's stories that we can tell, and there's games that we can play. And I was with my family at Disney World, and we started playing a game. Actually, it wasn't Disney World. It was Branson. Have you ever heard of Silver Dollar City, Alex?
It's Missouri, like Disney World.
It's like redneck Disney World. It's in southern Missouri. We played a game. We were looking for the wolf shirt. You know, the classic like black wolf howling at the moon shirt. Yeah. I was like, there's somebody here in southern Missouri in this park that has a wolf shirt on. So as we were crossing people in line, we're trying to look at like all these 100 people waiting in line for the ride to see who could spot the wolf shirt first. And I won. Spoiler alert. But
it was you.
I just took it off. 3 wolves howling at the moon. My favorite quote, though, is by Howard Thurman. Don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive, and then go do that. Because what the world needs is more people who have come alive. And that just hits me every time. That it's like, we keep trying to figure out what everybody wants us to be and how we can fit ourselves into other boxes. And like, especially now, I think what the world needs is more people who are doing awesome, unique, fun, interesting things and being themselves, being authentic.
I think that, Alex, I don't know if you can like relate, but I think that touches deeply just for me as I was launching my business. I'm sure same for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There is that pressure when you're launching to like think about how's everybody else doing it. But where we had the most fun, the most success was saying, this is our way. And like, we believe in this and we're excited about this and we come alive when we, work in this manner. And for us, that's where the magic happened. And I think a lot of creativity for entrepreneurs gets stifled by, again, that comparison.
Yeah, 100%.
I love it. There was a quote in there about future self too. And like to tie it in about the worrying and stuff. I think our future selves would not want us spending all of our time worrying. It's pretty counterproductive overall. So let's head into home renovations. What are we doing differently, Mike?
The home renovation is brought to you by camouflage pants. I went to buy some camouflage pants the other day, but I couldn't find any. What are we doing differently? In like a 4-year process. And so like, I've really come a long way. I was pretty burnt out and miserable. And especially in the pandemic, I started this before the pandemic, but really went hard and made a lot of changes when we were all quarantined. And it was like the last bits of fun got sucked out of my life. Like I was working virtually. And so I'm in Zoom calls all day and it's boring corporate meetings and I'm not making progress and I'm feeling stuck. And I just wasn't like the last few things, the leaving the house and seeing people smile is covered up by a mask. And it was just like, blah. And so I did it all. I did everything in the book here. Digital detoxes. I found ways to create. I started building Lego for fun. I started trying different classes. I started hosting game shows to get out of the house and virtually first and then out of the house, and really just kind of leaned into all of it to find some more balance and happiness in my life. And ultimately, quitting my job and starting my own company and doing fun things, living the dream.
Yeah, love that.
That's cool.
I think one of the things that a lot of parents can relate to is when your kids are playing and you're sitting around other adults, you'll hear them say, or at least I hear them say often, like, oh, I could watch, kids play for hours, right? Because it is so captivating when you watch, your son play with roaring dinosaurs and you look over and your daughter's putting puzzle pieces together and your other, like that is so captivating to watch.
Your son is eating puzzle pieces.
So, sometimes chewing off the piece that connects it. But I think this book was an eye-opening moment for me to go, okay, yes, I could be captivated by watching them play, or I could get down and be the roaring dinosaur, or get down and, start putting the puzzle pieces together. And it was a moment where I kind of reflected of why do so many adults say I could watch kids play for hours, but sit and sip their coffee, like how do we create more opportunities for them to, be the roaring dinosaur and play and engage in that manner. So that for me, I think is what I took away from the book and want to do, just more of. And of course there's that balance of letting them, play on their own, but also making sure that you're getting down there too.
Yeah. I think for me, mine's similar in the sense of just being deliberate about some of those play activities in the family. After I read this book in its entirety, I had a thing. My wife got me this tabletop topic thing where it's like one question that, you answer to like spur a conversation. And it's something that is very on brand for me. Because I get like, you just get caught in marriage or whatever with your kids, anyone, you get caught in like how was your day? Good, cool. And I think we've observed this in couples where if you think about what you do on your first date and you're asking all these like exploratory questions with someone and you're curious and interesting, and then like you've been married to them for 30 years and then you think the answers to all these questions, but they have changed and you have changed. And like having some of that curiosity. So like those kind of games where you're engaging with the people that you maybe think really well. And then fighting through the initial, I think a lot of adults, like, as we said earlier, their initial reaction is like, I'm too busy, or like, hey, do you guys want to play Taboo or whatever? Like, no, let's just like sit here. But very rarely when you're engaged in it are people not having fun, right? Like once you're like 7 minutes into the game, everyone's like, oh my God, I haven't played. This is like so fun. Pictionary, whatever the heck we're doing, like in those adult game.
Uno is a great go-to. If you want a nice, easy way, like from 6 to 106, everybody can play Uno. Yeah. It's fun. The rules are easy. Everybody can learn and just like get into it. And then once you give grandma the draw 4, like life is good again. You know what I mean? And it just like it's just, yeah, I think a really great example there, Alex, of you do have to jump for it. And then one thing we haven't mentioned is I try to throw in a ton of like scientific research and things. The reason you're so stressed and tired is because you're not playing. Nobody finishes a game of Uno and goes, oh, I'm so exhausted, I got to go to bed. Like they're energized. They're laughing. You get more energy. You wake up when you sit there and, sip your coffee or something else on the couch, you're going to be more tired. You're not engaging in the play and you're not engaging in your life and relationships and stuff. So I think that's a huge lesson.
Mike Montague, if people want to learn more about play or learn more about you or book a game show with their family, what do they do?
Yeah. Playfulhumans.com. It made it pretty easy. That's the name of the book. It's the name of the podcast. It's the name of the website, but I'm not letting you guys go without playing a game. Do you want to play a game?
Oh yeah. I forgot. I do.
All right. We're going to play Survey Says. Survey Says is very similar to another family game, which we do not have the rights to. But I'm a bald host asking you questions about people that we surveyed, 100 people. The top 5 answers are on the card here. Whoever gets the highest answer in 2 out of these 3 wins. Survey Says is brought to you out of you and Emily. Yeah.
No, but are we alternating or is it like buzzer?
Ooh,
like, do we say it as fast as we can? I think we should alternate.
I think you should buzz. I think you should say buzz if you haven't.
All right. Well, you're the game show host. Whatever you think.
Yeah, I think we got to buzz in. And Survey Says is brought to you by Snow White and the 7 Dwarves. 6 out of 7 dwarves are not happy. We got to do something about that. All right.
That's really good.
We asked 100 people to name a food that is cooked, but it's good, hot or cold. A cooked food that is still good.
I got one.
Cold. Yeah, Alex.
Bread. /toast.
Bread. Ooh, good answer. But
cheese.
Not on there. What'd you say, Emily?
Cheese.
Cheese. Hot or cold? No, both of you X's.
Okay.
We're gonna have to go for a second round. Back to you, Alex.
Pizza.
A cooked food that's just as good, hot or cold.
Pizza.
Pizza is on there. There we go. Number 2 answer. There's one that can beat it, Emily.
Oh.
Thanks. That's in.
Do I have a timer?
Yes.
Hot or
Going
cold?
off.
Okay, Alex, take the next.
We can record this. It's gonna be an hour and 40-minute podcast.
You keep going. I guess cheese. Hot or cold?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Hot or cold? This is like I don't know.
The number one answer, it tastes like everything, or everything tastes like it.
Everything.
Chicken was the number one answer. We're going to give this one to
What?
Alex.
Said that,
Chicken
and I
is
didn't
good
want to
cold
get judged
or
for eating
hot.
cold chicken.
Pizza, then potatoes, carrots, beans, and shrimp. Shrimp is a good answer.
Yeah.
All right, I'm not so sure.
Bread,
about the other one.
toast, not on there. It's bread. And
I don't know. Yeah, I like your answer better, but they don't have to be right answers. It's just what the survey people said. There's a lot of idiots out there.
We're going to cut out this segment.
All right. We asked 100
segment,
people
edit
to
in
name
the-
a place where people always try to squeeze in one more person.
The Uber.
Oh, car is the number one answer. She wins
Yeah.
that one. Jump in there. Alex, do you have a guess?
One more person in Subway.
Yeah, Subway is on there. Number 3, elevator. Number 2, restaurant table, church pew, or a concert. All right. This is for the win. Question number 3. We asked 100 people during a power failure, name something you can still turn on.
Your phone.
A candle.
Oh, phone should be on there. A candle is not turned on. So we got 2 X's again. We're going to have to go for the tiebreaker.
Well, I'll just clarify. The candle I was talking about is the battery operated fake
the
candles.
flashlight.
Yeah. So I would like to,
Flashlight is the number 1 answer. There you go. And
No,
do
the
you have
battery
any
operated candles, but
turn
yes,
on during
flashlight
power
would have been close behind probably, maybe if I thought of it.
Flashlight, radio, water faucet, your spouse, or the stove. All good.
Like that. Really good. Really good. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you guys for having me on, and thanks for playing. That was fun.
Families, that wraps up our discussion of Playful Humans, 52 reasons to rediscover the power of play in your life and career. If there's one thing we learned today, it's that Mike has some awesome dad jokes. We'd like to thank Mike Montague for sharing his insights. Remember to subscribe to Family Book Club Podcast. Share it with your friends and family. Leave us a review. Until next time, stay connected, keep reading, and take care of each other.